Option of the digital technologies, be it in the IoT or any digital automation within the enterprise, or be it in the smart cities, have seen a significant growth, not just in India, but globally.
If the infrastructure is created across the country, we can build a big super highway for data.
Right decision on technology is the most important aspect.
Technology is required in strategy and innovation. Technology is required in customer journey. Technology is required in building your organization structure, which is your internal operations.
I want to welcome all my esteemed panelists to the discussion today. The topic we are today focusing on is why do we need to shift our investments to cutting edge technologies and cloud transformation? Why is it important? And what is the role does it play? So you've already got introduced to all the panelists. I would like to start by asking some of our colleagues of why is what does digital really mean? And why is this term even important ever than before? To start this, may I cue in Mr. Vineet to start the comment and help us understand the perspective of why digital is important today.
Thank you, Anuj. Can you guys hear me? Yes, no? Okay, good. I know digital is one of the most fancy topic if you ask me today, right? Everyone is talking digital. Right? But what exactly digital mean? That's a... Hopefully you guys are able to hear me, right? But what exactly digital mean to like everyone, right? It's all about business. So if I have to divide IT and digital, right? If I have to just take technology, there is a very nice Gartner's concept of pace layering, which tells us any application can be segregated in 3 types: system of record, system of differentiation, and system of innovation, right? So all the system of records, IT application, which is a run side of the business, like SAP, Ariba, all those things, right? These are IT applications. But the grow side of it, right, which is a system of differentiation and innovation, where you differentiate or you make help in improving the top line or bottom line, that's digital. So if I have to very simply divide it, IT is about run side of it, digital is about grow side of it. When I say grow, how it can impact the top line and bottom line of the company. It can be through people, it can be through process, or it can be through technology. Only technology is not about digital. It's about, people can rephrase it, maybe call it a business transformation rather than just digital transformation. I see like that.
Thank you, Vineet. Very interesting concepts around how it impacts the top line and bottom line and how it eventually drives the business strategy. With that, may I ask Mr. Venkat to opine upon how the business strategy really transforms from here? Mr. Venkat. Would you like to opine upon?
I am unable to hear.
All right. Can you? I guess you were not able to hear me. I'm sorry. I was saying that really appreciate how Vineet have brought about the concepts of the top line and the bottom line being impacted from the perspective of digital transformation. And I wanted to get opinion from Mr. Venkat on what typically the next step should be and what are the problems that he's seeing from a solution standpoint.
In digital transformation? Okay. So first of all, good afternoon everyone. And digital transformation means actually we need to revisit and recreate new business models. And first of all, we need to get the clarity for the C-level management, whether they want to redefine their business model or they just want to change the existing business models. Once they decided that they want to do and revisit the and recreate a business model, they need to have create an understanding of the top leadership and make them a commitment for the actually to commit for the digital transformation, and then actually they need to do an organizational structure and then training and then need to adopt a new cutting edge technologies, and then only the digital transformation strategy will work. This will be an optimal way of implementing a digital strategy. And also, not only the technology, we need to adopt in certain tools and in the process of while we are executing a digital transformation strategy. So those tools like as in project management and the productivity tools. So project management tools like Taskopad and the Trello, all these things will give an edge for the while executing a digital transformation. So and enabling a digital strategy, digital transformation strategy need to be aligned with the cloud transformation and as well as the business IT strategy. So in that actually we are utilizing the cutting edge technologies. So maybe IoT and AR and VR technologies, such kind of thing actually. So the business models can be created when we used in the cutting edge technologies. So definitely digital strategy required and commitment from the senior management, organizational transformation and cultural and training, and then usage of the proper tools and technologies, and then the usage of the cutting edge technologies and encouraging the innovation. Then only the strategy will be the optimal.
Thank you, Venkat. Very interesting aspect on IoT and digital transformation overall. With that, if I may pivot to the market view and trends on IoT, and if I can ask our colleague Praveen to please opine on it.
Yeah, thanks, Anuj. As Mr. Jaiswal mentioned regarding the OT part of it, from an operational transformation, and Mr. Srihari mentioned about the need for the strategy and the way it is to be approached in any digital transformation project. The technology plays a crucial role, and the way the recent digitalization journey that we have seen, the post-COVID or even in the COVID era, it has scaled significantly. The adoption of the digital technologies, be it in the IoT or any digital automation within the enterprise, or be it in the smart cities, have seen a significant growth, not just in India, but globally. As we all know, we have been working from home in most of these cases. And as CXOs, we are all sometimes worried about how the business is operating, how the plants are operating. People are safe. Productivity is at its peak and it's not falling. The availability of the raw material, the dispatch of the finished goods is taking place as planned. So the technology has played a significant role with the emergence of the need, which has been driven through the COVID era also. And I'll give an example, like in the safety or a people first, a lot of adoption in terms of safety of the employees, whether they are working in a particular area or within an environment, they are safe. So there are solutions which have scaled tremendously during this era to ensure the right available the people are available at the right place at the right time. With that, the integration of now the person is available. So how about the productivity? Is my productivity being managed across multiple plant locations, multiple areas within the plant, and how efficient they are? So that has become the key even to measure remotely. And there are number of industries and there are number of companies which I have personally seen and we have gone through. They have rather in this era actually achieved a significant gain in productivity because it was a specific focus and the need of the hour, and which has been maintained. And third example I'll take on the smart city side, which is also one of the growing areas, has been one of the significant shifts with the adoption of digital technologies in the cities as well. It includes all these enterprise or cities include a stack of multiple things, be it a communication layer, which probably we'll discuss it shortly, be it the device and the sensor infrastructure, be it the platform and the applications, be it the predictive analytics engine. So the lot of value is driven when it is driven in a stack, the complete stack together. Current market, just an example, like in IoT, globally, as of today that we stand, it's $300 billion. and it is expected to grow in next 5 years to almost double, 650 billion dollars. So that's the scale we are talking about the growth.
Thanks, Praveen. Very interesting perspective to begin with from Vineet on how we are seeing the bottom line impact, top line impact on business. Then we heard, of course, Venkat speaking on what are the solution aspects on it, and then Praveen really well laid the IoT, smart cities, and all these aspects. It almost sounds like we need some sort of framework or some sort of approach and understanding of how to adopt something like this. And at this juncture, may I ask our colleague Gaurav to please talk a little bit about how should one conceptualize it, or how should one look at it from an adoption and maturity standpoint?
Sure. Thank you, Anuj. Can you hear me okay? All right. So now let's talk about how do we strategize it and put it into a framework, right? Anything and everything that we do, be it you are an individual or you are a company, be it you are a startup or an MSME or one of the large Fortune 100 companies, everyone needs a framework. And can we define a common framework which can be applied across? Can I get a hand to see if there is a framework that exists? Yep. So let's talk about that. First, let's talk about the difference between business transformation and digital transformation. Right? Okay. There's a lot of terms floating around business transformation and digital transformation. And I think Vineet brought in a really good framework of run and grow. Difference between IT and digital. What I'll talk about is how do we look at it from business transformation perspective. If you're running a business, you have the CEO doing the strategy and innovation. That's one pillar of it. The second pillar is how do we look at our customer journey. If you are in a B2B or a B2C business, you need to know your customer journey. That is where your marketing team comes into the picture, your sales team comes into the picture, right? The third framework is how do you define your organization structure on a local level and on a global level. We all are expanding globally. We all want to expand in the US, in the West, and in the East. Are you going to apply the same strategy of what you have in India operations? Will it work in US? Absolutely not. So that part of organization structure is think globally, act locally. I mean, it's a very common concept. We all know it, but it is very difficult to apply. So that organization structure becomes very important. The next pillar is process automation. This is where your entire supply side of the things comes into the picture. If you are a services company, how are you building your people and your team to take care of the flurries of projects coming from sales who's closing the deals? If you're a product company, how are you managing your supply chain for bulk of orders, and when there are less orders, how are you able to manage your cost? All that comes under process automation. All of this requires enablers, which is the technology. That is where the digital part comes into the picture when we talk about overall business transformation. Technology is required in strategy and innovation. Technology is required in customer journey. Technology is required in building your organization structure, which is your internal operations, your HR-related operations, right? And last but not the least, the data analytics. If you're doing any initiative on the company level, if you're doing anything from the client side, if you're not able to measure your success, and if you're just focusing on tasks and activities, you're going to fail. Because if you're producing results based on your activities, I have planned 100 activities and I've completed all of them, but what is the result? How are you showing the growth? How are you showing minimal incremental growth? Is one of the keys that we all should look at from overall business transformation strategy. Now, when it comes to the smart cities, you can easily apply this framework. Can we? Yes or no? Right? So if you need more information, feel free to touch base with us offline also in our booth at Successive Technologies, and we would love to talk more about our stories.
Thanks, Gaurav. Very interesting combination of how IoT, data centers, and framework come together to actually produce business results. With that, a long-lasting problem that we have seen has been around last mile and the distribution network, especially with the rise of IoT. And in order to tie all of this conversation around, I would like to invite Mr. V.C. Roy to tell us the framework, the cost aspects, and the solutions we talked about, how do we stitch them together? How do we bring cost to it?
Yes, data.
Over to you. Yes, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me speak in a very layman term so that everyone can understand this. That right from the beginning, if you talk about evolution of broadband period, data transfer and data traveling was a real problem. We still face some problems with the data. First, we should understand what was the initial days data problem. When the broadband came into the existence, we were facing last mile connectivity, that is connection to the end users. Then we had a solution of backbone, fiber optics backbone, and we could distribute it finally to the end users. Now, service has grown up, things has grown up, technology has changed, lots of data transfer is there, data traveling is there. And problem comes of latency. How to solve that? Because of latency, late data transfer, lots of technology are awaited, still awaited for the use. So here comes the last mile distribution network. That means any services that we are using for data gaining, data transfer, that is especially to the giving connectivity to the end users and distributing it, it is a real bottleneck problem. When it comes for the distribution of data, the last mile is like a bottleneck. How to distribute it? Latency problem is there. You can feel it with the browsing, when you download data and lots of browsing is there. It happens in so many ways. Only you can take this example on your mobile, but it goes with every type of data transfer. There comes a solution with what we are doing. We are VueNow group, that we are building. VueNow is building edge data center infrastructure. Hey, what is edge data center? Edge data center is basically a small unit of data center located near to the end users for data distribution and rest of the services like cloud computing and other services related to data centers. But the basic job is for the edge data center is to solve the problem of latency. It is established just near the end users. Like I can give you example, say what we are doing is we are building co-located edge data centers, container-based solution. A data center built inside a container and placed near the end users so that latency problem can be taken care of, fastest data distribution can be done, and hence we can create a big, if the infrastructure is created across the country, we can build a big super highway for data. If we can build a big super highway, I'll tell you what is you're using as 3G, 2G, what problem you faced with those networks. 5G is coming. That will be very much applicable and usable on this edge data center infrastructure. But you will feel the real speed and the superhighway connectivity of data on this infrastructure. So this is the solution that we are talking about, and edge data center infrastructure basically solves the problem for data distribution network, and that comes with the data distribution to the last mile. That's so that end users can use it. And we are on this platform, I'll love to share this. We are the pioneers. VueNow is the pioneers for edge data centers in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. VC Roy. Brought about a very interesting component of end user ease of use, just-in-time availability, cloud containers. At this point, I also want to probably cue in my colleague Vineet back again and try and understand how can we leverage a robust cloud transformation and make sure that there is maximum growth and also benefit to end-to-end IT operations.
Good question. So, you guys can hear me? Yes? I can't hear back myself. So, how can we use cloud to for a better
Cloud
transformation?
transformation.
See, there are multiple things I heard. I took some notes. I think what I realized, everyone is whatever they are talking, right? Whether it's Praveen or Mr. Raw, anyone who is talking about how the ecosystem can become better. But as a consumer, right? So, first thing I will tell you, there is no one here who is going to do something because the technology has come. They are going to use technology to solve a business problem. So most important thing is to understand the value chain, like from customer to like if you are in mining, manufacturing, you are all enabling function, you have to understand the entire value chain. And then understand where exactly the constraints are. If a KPI is, let's assume you have to hit a KPI of 100 and you are in 90, how to make sure you make it from 90 to 100? And then try to find that whether it needs a process transformation, technology transformation, or people transformation, right? When I say process transformation, understand that, okay, a process which is used currently may not be right. I will take an example again here. In one of my use cases, what we realized that a process was set up about 10 years back. But when we go to a time and motion study, we realize the same process can be done faster now. Few things can run parallel and few things can get eliminated. Just by doing that, there are crores of money saved. So that's on the process transformation. Then on the people transformation, maybe sometimes the people is not rightly trained to use the technology which we have provided, right? So there is on the people side, and the technology is where all the discussion which we are having today. On the technology transformation side of it, let me take a safety use case. At one of my jobs, what I was looking is, we wanted to see if there is an incident, and this was during COVID times, right? If people are wearing masks or social distancing following or not, right? So we wanted to cover that by technology. Nobody should be monitoring you one-on-one. It is impossible. If you have hundreds of people or thousands of people in the manufacturing plant, if you have just camera, you can collect the data, do a edge computing there itself, right? There are smart cameras now. Or you can do a fog computing, collect multiple edge data and do a computing and tell that there are multiple people who are coming together. Or do a cloud computing. There are challenges. I think I was hearing the challenges of getting all the data. It's very expensive. I will tell you, it looks like very easy to move all the data to cloud, right? What you will realize is putting the network pipe cost would be more than the cloud cost where you are going to store it. So right decision on technology is the most important aspect. So that's why I say that it looks very easy. Okay, there is a technology and you're going to solve it. It's very important. You need to understand the problem, understand the business problem. Are you going to improve the KPI by doing that and making sure still the focus of top line and bottom line is there? Whether are you increasing the business or you are improving the bottom line, that is like either reducing the cost, increasing the asset efficiency, or reducing defect, or increasing asset availability, or making the operation safer, right? So this is the way we look at it.
Fabulous. No, thanks, Vineet. Very interesting perspectives. I want to cue in Gaurav at this point to understand what are the strategies to maximize our results in digital transformation? Our strategies, yes, please.
Yeah. So I think the use cases Vineet was mentioning, right? I really like the frame of people, process, and tools. A process can be fixed through a process improvement or adding more technology around it. What is another way to look at it is there a governance on top of it? And that needs to be part of the strategy. And the governance is all around ensuring we are able to govern without talking to each and every person who is involved as part of the process. And that can be enabled only by technology, where we are putting the right technology touch points and the data is actually being going from bottom to top in the form of a dashboard. Let's talk about another use case. How many of you are working from home right now?
Allah.
Quite a few, right? Offices are opening up. We all know companies are calling people back to the office. Will the office be the same as pre-COVID world? No. We need to have some measures from employee safety perspective also, obviously masks being one of them. But then there are also processes and technologies that will change when we are going back to the office. Let's take the example how. Some of the companies use attendance systems through your biometric when you're punching in and punching out. Is that feasible in post-COVID? All of us touching the thumbs? No. That technology will be outdated. What is the new technology coming in? Facial recognition. There you go, right? So one of the things that we are providing as a solution is smart camera solutions, where it will not only scan your face for your facial recognition, but it will also scan your body temperature. What problem are we solving here? If everyone is coming at 10 a.m. in the office, there is a huge line. With that, there will be zero queue. Recognize temperature and gone in. You guys are going to the mall, right? There is a huge queue of scanning your temperature. We have to do that for maybe next 2 years. That is where the new innovation is coming in. And to Vineet's point, right, it is expensive to put a huge network pipe than the cloud. But getting those smart cameras is not very expensive. We actually have a patent that we have filed for such smart cameras, and we are in the process of rolling it out to many, many big companies.
Fabulous. Thank you, Gaurav. I want to now at this juncture, having talked about newer edge technologies like the attendance systems, how it is transformed because of COVID and the new workspace and workforce needs. I want to cue in our colleague, Mr. Praveen, one more time and understand what is the market view and trends in IoT, and how do you see the ecosystem maturing in terms of adoption for IoT?
Thanks. The COVID era has actually led to a significant adoption, and it is also the various reports and analyst reports talk about the entire technology adoption has shifted 5 years ahead, especially in India, right? And where most of the manufacturing happens, or the Southeast Asian market where most of the global manufacturing is happening, there is a significant shift in adoption of technology because of the COVID. One example I'll take with the numbers also, which I mentioned, like the current $300 billion IoT market is expected to grow around 16.7% CAGR, expected to be at $600 billion. So what it entails. And as the adoption of technology grows, it is crucial to select the best technology forward. And with the cloud and with the edge that we were discussing about, I'll take one example, like how the technologies have scaled. There's a simple product that I'd been dealing with, and I'll take that example because I'm most comfortable with that, is a SafePass. It's a simple, low-powered, wide-area network control device. It's a small, like an ID card, less than the size of the ID card, which is basically working on an open technology of a LP WAN, low-powered wide-area network. With this, I'm able to track and monitor the safety of the worker, whether it's a fall, immobility, health, where is he present. I can monitor the productivity, and especially in an industrial environment where there's a lot of dust and a lot of challenges because of metallic barriers. So some of these technologies have really seen a significant adoption, and especially when we consider India is a very frugal market. A lot of us will want a solution, and the solution which has to be what we have seen in established markets might be $100, it might be a 10, less than 10% or even less than 5% of what is available globally. So that has been a significant shift with that example. Similarly, in smart cities, the shift is happening with the adoption of technology by ensuring, say, when you're driving into a smart parking, your availability of a parking slots, you're able to get the information well in advance. Your street lights are illuminated and automated. Say in the night, when you want to do from a sustainability standpoint and a planet first, you don't want a high intensity every time. So when somebody is passing through that, there is a significant increase in the intensity or the lux level, and the power consumption is accordingly adjusted. And when there is no movement, it is significantly lower. And the same thing may also be monitoring your pollutions and other ppm, other co2 and other nox gases which are available in the environment. So these things, when an entire ecosystem is integrated, say in a command control center of a city, you have the enterprise data, you have the smart cities data, entire thing is running now together. And the adoption of this technology is so fast that even now, not just the cities and states, it is now being integrated at the central level where all this information is being pulled through. So we are not far away, especially in India also, if we see in the fast adoption of technology, which can see a significant growth in the short term.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. And at this point, having heard about IoT and technology use cases, I want to cue in Mr. Venkat one more time and understand what is his view on strategies which can help us maximize this digital transformation journey and accelerate the adoption.
Yeah. So, first of all, we will touch the what are all the cutting edge technologies. So, cutting edge technologies means actually AI and machine learning, big data and analytics, cloud, IoT, and other current technology trends. So, cloud is one of the cutting edge technologies. To leverage the business transformation as mentioned by the Gaurav, we need to align the business transfer strategy with the IT strategy. IT strategy need to include an cloud transformation. If you take the cloud transformation, there are several important components are there. Number one, actually cloud, whenever a business strategy was laid out, they need to adapt an cloud first strategy. Second one, understanding about the cloud economics. Cloud economics and realizing about the total cost of ownership of the cloud. It's not like an paying an operational cost for the monthly services in the cloud. It's not like that actually. You need to calculate a value for business continuity, the disaster recovery and network maintenance cost and bandwidth maintenance cost, and as well as the resources to manage all these things, and as well as the value pool you will get from this cloud utilizing the directly the service instead of you have your own infrastructure and other things. So this is the realizing the total cost of ownership on the cloud is an second element. Third element is actually right now in the cloud there are multiple data centers like an on-premises, hyperscale data centers, edge data centers, like as in cloud data centers. It's in right now the trend is actually to manage the both private cloud, public clouds, hyperscale data centers as in a one. That is in the current trend actually. That is the managing whole as in a one actually. Next is an automation. Automation, without automation, you could not able to go to the market very fast, or your business doesn't have an agility. So these actually for the implementing an automation, you have several automations like implementing in CI/CD, DevOps, and in your several business process automations, implementing in robotic process automations. All these required an cloud adoptions. Next one is actually we need to utilize the cloud for several innovations actually. We have a great, cloud will give you the flexibility for the scaling and as well as the innovation. It will give you an innovation for the current SaaS based products actually in many areas like an Rejig. We have one great product like Rejig, which is based upon the combination of IoT and AR and VR, sends data to the cloud and facilitate the manufacturing industries to have an virtual assistant to assist the workmen to solve the industrial problems. This is in manufacturing. We have one product for Rejig. The same as actually we have one project management and productivity tools actually, which is based upon the cloud, like a Taskopad. So this is we have to include all these things in the cloud transformation to maximize the and the sustainable growth and as well as the to ease of managing the infrastructure.
Fabulous. Thank you, Mr. Venkat. Mr. VC Roy, I want to cue you up. And after hearing what he said, you also talked about data center in a container, which I thought was very innovative, very nice concept. And he's also talked about, Mr. Gaurav talked about the transformation and also talked about the times of how things have pivoted due to COVID. And now, what is also on top of a lot of CIOs, CDOs, CTOs is business continuity and resilience. So, what role does edge data centers play there? How do you support this IoT ecosystem in making a business more resilient and making sure it's available to end users when the need is?
So see, first of all, during the COVID times, we can say that the basic load on data centers were moved, and lots of business was run online. So data transfer was like anything. So talking about the services, I think lots of things has been already been explained, which I wanted to speak out, but talking about IoT and OTT platforms, see, I'll tell you what, when we talk about in a simple terms, I want to just summarize it in a common feature. Like when we talk about data centers, it's a data reservoir basically. We keep every type of data and maintain the data security basically. So security can be one of the major important issues. So that has to be taken care by data center owners and data center maintenance. So that is very important thing. Otherwise, the services like anything, OTT platform, IoTs, these things basically makes data center very busy in the coming future. And we have to look after this especially about talking about the data security part and of course the data flow and the data distribution network. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. VC Roy. We interestingly touched upon data security. And, I want to cue in Mr. Vineet. Mr. Vineet, having your organization is a complex, wide organization with a lot of geo presence as well. How are you dealing with some of these challenges around data security with adoption of IoT and also looking at constructs like edge data centers, looking at the frameworks that coming through? Is it more of, in the industry, a solution which is built in? Is it more bolt-on or it's really an afterthought? What's the situation on the ground from your experience?
Yeah, so always we have to look life like a Lego block. You will never get everything perfect. You will get something which is like if I heard all of them, right? I was taking some notes, right? What Gaurav talked about, or what Mr. Roy just now talked about, Venkata talked about, right? Everything, if you really see, there are things which is very, very good available at once. While Mr. Roy will provide something on the edge side of it, right? Cameras by Gaurav would be a great one, right? But how you fit in all together is definitely an interesting aspect. And another thing, while I was listening to all the conversation, I will tell you one of the best example in the world in next couple of years will be metaverse, where you will see a great handshake between edge and a cloud computing. They coming and marrying with each other and solving a lot of business problem. I'll tell you, in future, and especially COVID drove this a lot, a chairman of a company wants to visit a mines, right? They will never go physically. 2 drones will go and they will be talking to each other, and actually a chairman and a CEO or somebody will be talking to each other. That's the way it will happen in future. To talk about the security aspect, right? There are a lot of providers. Just pick what is the right thing. Important thing is there has to be a strategy and plan around this. And this is not just for this. Anything on the digital transformation strategy, right? You need to have the right people strategy, right? Whether you have got the right buy-in from the leadership, you have the right organization, making sure you have a security people, you have people who understand the transformation. And remember this, you are not trying to get digital transformation people and trying to transform the organization. That's not the objective. You are trying to help get the right people to enable it, right? So I will tell you, about 20-25 years back, there may be a job posting for an Excel expert. Do you think there is a job for Excel expert? Everybody knows it. That will happen to digital transformation. Each and every one in an organization will be a digital transformation enabler. and the people who brings in these technologies, right? Whether it's on edge, cloud, or solutioning, or a process, right? All these will be enabling that, right? Another aspect on the process side, which I really, it's very, very important, is you need to have a very clear defined process, a great PMO for these things, right? Whether if an idea is coming, right, with some ideation, in you know that there is a loss in this, so there should be a very good governance around this, how exactly that's get approved. And technology, you need to have a strategy, whether you have to buy, rent, or build it, right? You should always go for rent in current scenario, especially on the cloud one. The technology will change within a year. A phone changes, right? Most of us will change our phone in a year. So how can you expect to buy something and keep it for long? So renting would be the best. If I have a given a choice, then you buy it and then build it. Build it at the last if it is not possible. Because if you build it, by the time you complete your build, a new version will come out or a new problem will come out, right? So that's the way I look at life. It should be secure, and there are a lot of solutions available. Just pick the best out of it.
Fabulous, fabulous. No, thanks for sharing your real life experience. I realize we are in the last few minutes, and I want to cue in, Vineet, and thanks for the comments, Vineet. I meant, and essentially, I want to cue in Mr. Praveen one more time and hear about. We heard about the importance of program management, about having the right strategy, and then, of course, the seamless execution of it. From your enterprise solution standpoint, how do you see some of this coming along?
Yeah, thanks. So from an execution standpoint, 2-3 things are very foreign foremost. As Mr. Jaiswal was also mentioning, and Mr. Roy was also mentioning, and Mr. Srihari, about the process, need for technology, need for adoption. All these things have to be put together. So now, in a digital transformation or anything that is taking place of this sort, we need to have a multiple layers of the entire stack, which not just includes the basic infrastructure of a communication. It needs the right sensors and devices. So some of these sensors and devices price over the last, if I compare for 10 to 15 years, they have almost come to almost less than about 10% of the sensors price what it used to be earlier. So that's the significant shift that is happening. So a lot of innovation is happening on the device side. And that too happening in-house, made in India, made for global. And that's a shift also that is being seen. So the network, the devices, then it's a platform layer, which actually brings in all these pieces together. And how do you ingest this raw data? The data can be in the form of into millions of packets, and the edge and the cloud play a key role in some of these devices. That's being the lower layer to this that has been designed, also is incorporating a lot of edge technologies into it. And this edge is helping reduce the number of the transmission of the total data packets to the platform, which also takes place through the various network protocols. So the load on the edge servers or the near edge or the far edge actually is optimized. The cloud computing gets optimized. From that layer, the application layer takes over to give the exact visualization of what is required at various levels for operations and for execution, say at a CXO level, at an operation level. All that information is provided with an analytics engine on the top, which actually caters to the more predictive insights that can be generated out of that raw data, and which also necessitates the needs of a large cloud, which is also having and hosting a data lake. The processing capability of this type of secondary data, which is a more meaningful data to derive the information out, and that helps in actually consuming it for business growth. The data at the lower raw data might be running into millions and billions of packets, but what is consumed and taken out of the big data into a secondary packet and information is also a significant shift, and that for cloud computing becomes very, very crucial. Yeah. So the near edge, the far edge, as well as the associated cloud infrastructure forms a seamless journey to achieve that.
Fabulous. Thank you, Praveen. And it's been a real pleasure over the last 50 minutes talking to all of our panelists here. We really heard about how we are shifting our digital and cloud strategy, how IoT is playing an active role, how edge data centers and innovative technologies like cameras, which we can not only sense your temperature, but can even recognize you, how some of these shifts are happening and will transform not only the way we have worked, how our workplaces have looked, how the workforce will look in the future and interact with technology, and eventually be more productive around it, and how companies will continue to see investments shifting towards some of these, cutting edge, newer aspects, and eventually improving their bottom line, top line. With that, a note of thanks to everybody. Really appreciate everybody coming in.
Thank
Over
you
to
all.
Thank you.
Thank you.